What if the future of cars didn't just come from Silicon Valley or Tokyo, but from the dusty streets of Zimbabwe? Imagine a vehicle that never needs to stop for gas, never plugs into a charger, and never runs out of power. It sounds like science fiction, but it's happening right now. Africa just shocked the entire automotive world with a breakthrough that no one saw coming. A self-powered car that runs purely on radio waves. No batteries, no charging, just unlimited, uninterrupted mobility. The inventor? Maxwell Chikumbutso, a man who defied all odds. A high school dropout who just rewrote the rules of transportation. And guess what? Europe is already making deals to secure this game-changing technology, leaving Tesla and China scrambling for answers. How does it really work? Can Africa's invention dethrone Tesla? And why is Europe betting big on it? The science behind the magic. Can a car really run on radio waves? The science is both fascinating and controversial. To understand how this innovation works, we need to break down the basic concept of ambient radio frequencies. These frequencies are all around us, emitted by cell towers, radio stations, satellites, and even household devices. Normally, these waves dissipate into the environment without being utilized. Maxwell's breakthrough lies in his ability to harness these waves efficiently and convert them into usable energy. The core of the technology is the microsonic energy device. This device uses an advanced antenna system to capture radio waves and then passes them through a resonance amplifier to increase their power. The amplified waves are then processed through a converter that transforms them into direct current electricity, which powers the vehicle. This process is continuous as long as the car is in an area with sufficient radio wave presence. Essentially, almost any urban environment. Physicists, however, are skeptical. They argue that the power density of ambient radio waves is inherently too low to sustain a moving vehicle. Traditional physics suggests that the energy harvested from such waves could only power small devices like sensors, not a full-sized car. Yet Maxwell's invention challenges this notion by using a unique amplification process that increases the efficiency of energy capture. To demonstrate the technology's potential, Maxwell held a public demonstration in Harare. The car, powered solely by ambient radio frequencies, started without being plugged in, maintaining a steady speed throughout the test drive. Observers noted that the vehicle's energy output remained stable, contradicting the assumption that radio waves are too weak to be practical. Despite the demonstration, critics insist on rigorous testing to validate the long-term reliability of the technology. Some scientists argue that even if the system works in controlled conditions, scaling it up for mass production could introduce new challenges. Maxwell, however, remains confident, focusing on proving his invention's real-world viability through continuous testing and refinement. But as engineers debated the science, one unexpected player decided to make a bold move: the EU strategic deal. Why Europe bet on Africa? While Tesla raced to perfect batteries, Europe quietly made a shocking deal with Africa. Amidst the excitement and skepticism surrounding Maxwell's self-powered cars, the European Union made a surprising move. They struck a deal to collaborate with Maxwell and his team. This decision wasn't just based on scientific curiosity, it was a calculated strategic move. Europe has been trying to reduce its dependency on Chinese lithium for electric vehicle batteries, and Maxwell's innovation presented an unexpected opportunity. By investing in self-powered car technology, Europe aims to position itself at the forefront of sustainable automotive innovation. The EU sees this as more than just a partnership. It is a chance to bypass the costly and environmentally damaging lithium supply chain altogether. Moreover, by supporting Africa's breakthrough, Europe aligns itself with a global push for greener mobility while fostering technological diversity. Automakers like Volkswagen and Renault have shown interest in integrating microsonic energy technology into their own production lines. If the technology proves scalable, it could dramatically reduce manufacturing costs and minimize the environmental footprint of electric vehicles. This approach could also appeal to consumers looking for affordable, low-maintenance cars. Europe's support of Maxwell's invention isn't just about cars, it's a broader geopolitical move. By aligning with African innovation, the EU signals a shift away from reliance on Asian manufacturing. This move could reshape the global automotive market and establish Africa as a key player in green technology. But while Europe embraced the breakthrough, one global giant saw its dominance slipping. A rising continent, how Africa outpaced the West. Africa wasn't supposed to lead the EV revolution, but that's exactly what happened. Historically, Africa has often been seen as a consumer, rather than a producer of advanced technology. Yet, Maxwell Chikumbutso's self-powered car is rewriting that narrative. For the first time, Africa is not just keeping pace with global innovation, it is leading. The symbolism of this achievement is profound, reshaping how the world views African ingenuity and potential. The innovation has sparked excitement among grassroots tech communities across the continent. Young engineers and aspiring inventors see Maxwell's success as a sign that world-changing ideas can come from anywhere, even from a high school dropout with a passion for problem solving. However, not everyone is convinced. Established automakers and industry analysts remain skeptical, questioning whether the technology can be mass-produced and withstand rigorous testing. Yet, as Zimbabwe positions itself as a tech hub, the potential for a new era of African automotive leadership is undeniable. While Africa celebrated, Tesla was already gearing up for a fight. If you're finding this breakdown insightful and want more deep dives into game-changing innovations like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the like button. Your support helps us keep bringing you well-researched stories that matter. Tesla's nightmare, an innovation they never saw coming. For years, Tesla has been the unchallenged leader in the electric vehicle market, pioneering the shift from gas-guzzling cars to sleek, high-tech EVs. With its lithium-ion battery technology and expansive supercharger network, Tesla set the standard for what an electric vehicle should be. However, this dominance was built on a single foundational principle: the battery. From the Model S to the Cybertruck, Tesla's entire lineup revolves around lithium-ion battery packs that need regular charging. But suddenly, this core principle is being questioned. Africa's breakthrough in self-powered cars, running entirely on ambient radio waves, has caught Tesla off guard. The concept itself sounds almost fantastical, a vehicle that never needs to be plugged in, that essentially charges as it moves. For Tesla, whose business model relies on maintaining battery superiority and charging infrastructure, this is not just a challenge. It's an existential threat. The company's costly investment in supercharger stations worldwide is now looking outdated. Initially, these stations were seen as a cutting-edge solution to the biggest problem facing EVs: range anxiety. However, if Maxwell's technology becomes mainstream, charging stations may become obsolete. Consumers would no longer need to plan trips around charging stops or worry about plugging in overnight. This technology would make Tesla's infrastructure-heavy approach feel cumbersome and outdated. Strategically, Tesla's brand is built on being the innovator, the company that constantly pushes boundaries. But now, Maxwell's self-powered car is doing something Tesla never even considered. It doesn't just improve on existing technology, it completely rewrites the rulebook. The risk for Tesla is profound. If Maxwell's invention proves scalable, Tesla could find itself losing its edge not just to one new competitor, but to an entirely new approach to electric vehicles. Internally, the disruption has caused turmoil. Reports from within Tesla's R&D department indicate a flurry of emergency meetings. Leaks suggest that Elon Musk himself is deeply frustrated, pushing his teams to explore similar energy-capturing technologies. However, replicating Maxwell's system is proving challenging. Tesla's entire research direction has been focused on optimizing lithium-ion batteries and developing next-generation solid-state versions. Adapting to a radically different energy model is not something they prepared for. While Musk has publicly remained silent about the development, insiders describe a palpable sense of urgency. Tesla's innovation pipeline, which usually boasts ambitious projects, now appears more conservative compared to the revolutionary leap made by Maxwell. The company that once prided itself on disrupting the automotive industry now faces the uncomfortable position of being disrupted itself. And just when Tesla thought it couldn't get worse, a silent force was already plotting its next move: China's strategic ambition. Will they seize the technology? China, the world's largest producer of electric vehicle batteries, is not taking Maxwell's breakthrough lightly. The entire Chinese EV strategy is built around battery manufacturing, with companies like KTL dominating global production. If Maxwell's self-powered cars prove viable, China's heavy investment in lithium-ion technology could rapidly become obsolete. To address this threat, Chinese automakers and state-backed research groups are actively exploring options. One strategy is to approach Maxwell directly, offering lucrative investment deals in exchange for co-ownership of the technology. There are also discussions within the Chinese government about incentivizing local companies to develop similar energy capturing systems. Beyond investment, China is also contemplating more aggressive tactics. Historically, China has not hesitated to acquire foreign technology through partnerships or mergers. Analysts speculate that Maxwell's invention could become a target for acquisition, either through direct business deals or by fostering collaborative agreements that would allow China to access the technology legally. However, the EU partnership complicates this strategy. With Europe now publicly supporting Maxwell, any aggressive move from China could lead to diplomatic friction. Africa, backed by European allies, is taking steps to secure its intellectual property, wary of potential exploitation. For China, the stakes are high. Failing to integrate or acquire this technology could weaken their EV dominance, especially as other global players begin to experiment with self-powered designs. Yet, pushing too hard risks alienating both African and European markets. As the geopolitical chess game unfolds, China must decide whether to compete, collaborate, or innovate its own solution. But as China planned its next move, the real impact was unfolding on the ground, transforming lives and communities. Mobility Redefined: How Africa is Leading the Charge. The global perception of Africa was that of a continent lagging behind in technological advancements, often relying on imported innovations to meet its needs. But Maxwell Chikumbutso's groundbreaking self-powered cars have completely flipped that narrative. Africa is no longer just a participant in the global race for innovation. It is leading the charge. The arrival of these self-powered vehicles has dramatically transformed transportation in both urban and rural areas. In cities, commuters are embracing the freedom that comes with not worrying about charging stations or fluctuating fuel prices. Instead of waiting in long lines to refuel or spending time at charging docks, they can simply start their cars and go. This newfound mobility is not just a luxury, it is a game changer for those who rely on consistent transportation for their livelihoods. In rural areas, the impact is even more profound. Farmers, who previously had to spend a significant portion of their income on fuel or manage unreliable charging setups, are now using self-powered motorbikes to transport goods efficiently. Take the case of a small farming community in rural Zimbabwe. Before the introduction of these vehicles, farmers would often have to wait for communal transport or spend hours walking to the nearest market. Now, with self-powered motorbikes, they can make multiple trips in a single day, significantly increasing their income and reducing product loss due to delays. The economic ripple effect is hard to ignore. As transportation costs plummet, local businesses are thriving. Small shop owners who once struggled with logistics now find it easier to restock their stores without the usual fuel expenses. Even local delivery services, previously limited by high operating costs, are expanding their reach, providing faster and more reliable service to customers. The rise of self-powered cars is also creating new jobs. Manufacturing facilities are springing up to meet local demand, creating employment opportunities not just in production, but in maintenance and technical support. Communities that once faced high unemployment rates are seeing a revitalization as young workers are trained to assemble, repair, and optimize these vehicles. Yet, despite these undeniable benefits, skepticism lingers. Critics wonder whether the technology can withstand long-term use, especially in areas with weak radio wave signals. While the excitement continues to build, some experts caution against over-reliance on an unproven concept. Even as Africa celebrates this newfound mobility, the world remains skeptical. Can the technology really hold up? A divided scientific community. Fact or fantasy? As the self-powered cars continue to gain attention, the scientific community remains starkly divided. While some hail it as the next big leap in automotive innovation, others are not convinced. Critics argue that Maxwell Chikumbutso's microsonic energy technology defies established physical principles, specifically the fundamental laws of energy conversion. One of the primary arguments from skeptics is the apparent lack of peer-reviewed studies. While the technology has been demonstrated publicly, comprehensive scientific evaluations are still missing. Physicists point out that the power density of ambient radio waves is exceedingly low, typically sufficient to run small devices like wireless sensors, but far from adequate for moving a vehicle. They argue that even if energy harvesting is theoretically possible, the efficiency required to sustain motion over long distances would need to be exponentially higher than anything currently feasible. The challenge lies in energy conversion efficiency. Traditional methods of harvesting radio frequencies involve capturing waves through antennas and converting them to direct current via rectifiers. The efficiency rate of this process is often less than 1%, making it impractical for applications requiring substantial power. Maxwell's claim of achieving continuous motion without charging is, therefore, seen as scientifically improbable by many experts. However, not everyone dismisses the technology. Supporters within Africa's tech community argue that the lack of conventional validation does not automatically discredit the innovation. They point to the successful public demonstrations, where the car ran without external power, as undeniable proof that the concept works. Local engineers who have witnessed the tests claim that Maxwell's method of energy amplification is the key, something that established physics may have overlooked or underestimated. The media coverage surrounding the controversy is polarizing public opinion. Some outlets celebrate the invention as Africa's leap into the future, while others caution against hyping unproven technology. Social media is flooded with debates, with one side cheering Maxwell as a genius and the other warning of potential scientific fraud. The ongoing debate is not just about technology. It reflects broader questions about how innovation is perceived when it emerges from unexpected places. African tech enthusiasts see the skepticism as rooted in bias, an unwillingness to accept that groundbreaking innovation could come from Zimbabwe. Regardless of the divided opinions, one thing is clear: the world is watching, and the demand for more concrete proof is growing. While scientists argue, consumers are making their own decisions, and it's changing the market dynamics. Consumer reactions. Hype or hope? The release of self-powered cars has sparked a whirlwind of reactions. Social media platforms are buzzing with videos of cars seemingly driving without any need for charging. Hashtags like #AfricaLeads and #ChargeFree driving are trending, with users expressing excitement about the potential end of charging woes. Early adopters are quick to showcase their new vehicles, celebrating the ability to drive for days without stopping to plug in. For those who have already bought into the innovation, the appeal is undeniable. No more planning routes around charging stations or worrying about power outages. Testimonials from drivers highlight the newfound convenience and cost savings, especially in countries where electricity infrastructure is limited. These stories are reinforcing the notion that Africa has genuinely achieved something revolutionary. However, not everyone is convinced. Critics point to historical instances of hype technologies that failed to deliver. Some draw comparisons to past energy breakthroughs that promised to revolutionize the world, but faded into obscurity when they proved unviable on a larger scale. The question on everyone's mind is whether self-powered cars are the real deal or just another fleeting invention. Western consumers in particular remain cautious. The lack of endorsements from established automotive companies raises doubts. Without validation from major manufacturers or independent testing, many fear that investing in this new technology could lead to disappointment down the line. Nevertheless, the local perspective is more optimistic. In Zimbabwe and surrounding regions, pride in seeing a homegrown innovation challenge global automotive norms outweighs the skepticism. The technology is not just a product, it is a symbol of African ingenuity. Whether the rest of the world embraces it or not, the continent is celebrating. As consumers started to embrace the innovation, the automotive giants were ready to launch a counterattack. The auto industry's counterattack. Can they keep up? The initial reaction from global automakers was disbelief. How could a self-taught inventor from Zimbabwe develop a technology that major companies never even considered? Yet, as self-powered cars gained traction, disbelief quickly turned into strategic urgency. Emergency research and development meetings were held in Detroit, Tokyo, and Munich as the industry giants assessed the potential impact on their market shares. The challenge is twofold. First, these companies must decide whether to invest in similar technology or dismiss it as an anomaly. Second, they must address the growing consumer curiosity. Brands like Ford and Toyota are considering collaboration offers to Maxwell, hoping to gain insights into his energy system. However, investors are wary, fearing that committing to unproven tech could risk billions. While some automakers cautiously explore partnerships, others are doubling down on their existing battery technology, hoping that Maxwell's innovation will eventually fade. Yet, as consumer interest rises, staying passive could prove disastrous. And while the auto giants strategized, the political landscape was shifting. And it was about to change everything. The EU's gamble, betting big on Africa's innovation. Europe isn't just supporting Africa, they're banking on it to transform global mobility. When the European Union made the unexpected move to back Maxwell Chikumbutso's self-powered car technology, it wasn't just a bold statement, it was a calculated gamble. For years, Europe has struggled to reduce its dependence on China for lithium and other critical minerals essential for electric vehicle batteries. As the global leader in green mobility initiatives, the EU recognized that relying on traditional battery technology could hinder its long-term sustainability goals. So when Africa's self-powered car made headlines, European policymakers saw an opportunity to pivot away from lithium dependency. The rationale behind the EU's decision goes beyond technological curiosity. It's about energy independence. China currently dominates the lithium supply chain, holding significant leverage over the global electric vehicle market. By investing in a technology that does not rely on batteries, Europe hopes to break free from this reliance. The potential to develop cars that never need charging aligns perfectly with the EU's vision of sustainable urban mobility. But integrating this innovation is no small task. To test the feasibility on a larger scale, the EU initiated pilot projects in major cities like Berlin, Paris, and Amsterdam. These projects aim to examine how self-powered cars perform in real-world conditions: city traffic, varied weather, and continuous use. Early results have been surprisingly promising, with the cars maintaining power without needing any external charging. These initial successes are prompting more European automakers to consider partnerships, and government grants are being directed towards further research. However, the EU is not blind to the risks. Investing in a technology that many scientists still view as unproven could backfire. If the innovation fails to scale or proves unreliable in diverse conditions, the political fallout could be significant. European taxpayers are naturally skeptical, and automakers are cautious about abandoning battery-based models too quickly. Despite these concerns, European leaders are pushing forward, betting that Maxwell's invention could be the next big leap in automotive technology. The economic calculation is also strategic. If Europe becomes the first to master self-powered vehicle manufacturing, it could regain dominance in the global car market. For decades, European automakers have been outpaced by Asian and American competitors, particularly in the electric vehicle sector. By embracing Africa's innovation, Europe could reposition itself as a leader in the next phase of the automotive revolution. But the stakes are high. If the technology turns out to be less practical than advertised, Europe risks losing both political credibility and economic leverage. Despite these uncertainties, the enthusiasm is palpable, as EU leaders believe that being at the forefront of such a groundbreaking technology outweighs the potential setbacks. And while Europe went all in, the US faced a deeper crisis. Was it being left behind? The American dilemma. Is the US being left behind? As the world buzzes with news about self-powered cars, American automakers and policymakers are scrambling to respond. The United States has long prided itself on automotive innovation, from pioneering the assembly line to leading the electric vehicle revolution with Tesla. Yet the emergence of Africa's self-powered cars has caught the American industry off guard. The primary issue is the lack of preparedness. While Europe is actively collaborating with Africa and China is strategizing its next move, the US government seems stuck in debates. Automakers like Ford and General Motors are pushing for government support to explore similar technologies, but legislative inertia and skepticism are slowing progress. Instead of actively pursuing self-powered tech, some industry leaders are doubling down on improving battery efficiency, a strategy that risks becoming obsolete if Maxwell's innovation proves reliable. Economic pressure is building. If US automakers fail to adapt, job losses could hit hard. The automotive sector employs millions, and any decline in global competitiveness could translate to factory closures and economic downturns, especially in manufacturing-heavy states like Michigan and Ohio. Public sentiment is also shifting. As news of affordable, self-powered cars circulates, consumers are questioning why American innovation seems to be falling behind. Geopolitically, the stakes are even higher. America's global influence has often been tied to its technological leadership. If the EU and Africa establish dominance in the self-powered car market, and China develops its own version, the US risks becoming a secondary player in an industry it once led. Some lawmakers are advocating for rapid adaptation, while others are wary of abandoning current electric vehicle investments. As the debate intensifies, the question remains: will America innovate in time, or will it be left playing catch-up in a market it once dominated? But that's just the start of it, because just as the US debated its next move, a new alliance threatened to reshape the entire industry. A new global order. Who will lead the next automotive era? The automotive landscape is no longer defined by familiar players. Africa's unexpected rise as an innovation hub, backed by European investment, is reshaping global power dynamics. Maxwell Chikumbutso's technology has positioned Africa as a legitimate tech leader, challenging traditional notions of where groundbreaking inventions come from. As Europe bets big on integrating self-powered vehicles, China and the US are left trying to adapt without appearing desperate. Consumers, meanwhile, are increasingly drawn to the idea of cars that don't require charging, a practical and cost-effective alternative to current electric vehicles. The long-term forecast remains uncertain. Will self-powered cars dominate, or will the technology remain niche due to reliability concerns? One thing is clear: Africa's breakthrough has changed the conversation, proving that innovation can come from the most unexpected places. One thing is certain: Africa just reshaped the global automotive landscape, and the world will never look at mobility the same way again. If this story blew your mind, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into industry shifts and groundbreaking tech. Let us know in the comments, do you think self-powered cars will really replace EVs? Thanks for watching.